Hello and welcome to Confidently Wrong, a show by regular dudes talking with confidence about content we have no right to speak about with any kind of authority, but do it anyway. I'm Wesley Nakamura, and as always, I'm joined by award-winning director Brian Redondo and Savon Jones, aka Captain Vonnie. This is episode 217 as we react to the season 4 finale of Invincible. I'm confident that it's going to be the best show you've ever listened to, and well, hey, if it's not, you can always ask us for a refund. Hello, gentlemen. Welcome back. It's Confidently Wrong. It's good to be back in the studio. I get to wear my Lakers jersey one more time. Last time, I said that this was going to be the last time that I wear it, but the Lakers somehow advanced into the second round. It was a miracle. Why are you messing with this microphone, messing up my audio? Why?
Because you're talking about the Lakers.
Because we don't need to hear this.
Yeah, we're talking about the Lakers. Oh, this is a good time for me to make sure my sound levels is right.
This fucking Shaquille O'Neal, yeah. Where he does the paper rolling on his microphone when he doesn't want to hear Chuck talk.
First of all, why are you in our Lord's year of 2026 still watching Inside the NBA? Like, are you watching Days of Our Lives and the Dick Van Dyke Show next? Like, this is a bunch of old curmudgeons, bro.
Man, why?
You're better than that.
No, I agree. But why did they not put them on TV at all this year?
They
paid all that money. They paid all that money to grab them from TNT, and then
because
they had like
games.
7 days this year that they put them on TV.
Because he thought Bam Adebayo was two different people. Like, what are we doing here?
All right, well, let's get into it.
Congrats to your Lakers, though. I do a lot of hating here, but before we hop in, I'll say, y'all handling y'all business. Like, when LeBron was
scary there.
Screen assists and throwing lobs to his son, I was like, man, it's some of the hardest shit I've ever seen. Two of their best players
to our very
out.
own Viltrumite, LeBron James.
Actually, though,
he doesn't die.
Yeah, like LeBron actually is he's gonna start the next playoff series, shave his beard, go mustache, and we'll get Viltrumite LeBron. He gets more powerful the longer he ages, actually. He's actually just the thrag of the NBA. But man, y'all handling y'all business. Like, y'all have been very resilient. I might hate y'all organization and y'all fans, but the team and coaching and staff is very, like, y'all handling y'all business, and y'all deserve to beat a team that is just a absolute clown show.
It was a little scary there when they went up 3-0 and then lost 2 games badly. It was like, oh man, did Houston have us figured out? But all we needed was them to have a bad shooting night, and we get to advance. So I'm excited about that.
Oh,
Brian,
so
Brian, your Knicks put on a historic blowout in
That's what they do.
Game. Oh my goodness. That halftime score was eye-opening. I mean, I think at some point it was like 100-50. It was like 70-20 at some point. Like,
they were up over 60.
Oh my goodness!
2K sliders. Someone was messing with the 2K sliders. Someone put that shit on rookie mode, and they was just hitting whatever. When someone texted me, I'm
just glad my blood sacrifice worked.
Hey man, look.
Somebody
else's cat is gonna have to die next series.
Yeah, but you take it 1 year at a time. I personally,
someone gave the Hawks. Yeah,
I'm a goat guy myself. Slaughter a goat, throw it into the river, and pray for a fruitful harvest. But
oh my god,
we'll see.
Someone gave the Hawks
what's available.
Huge radiation poisoning there. Really nerfed them in those last 2 games. Brian, you actually got to go to MSG for Game 5, right?
I was in the house.
Was it popping at the beginning of the game at least?
It was popping because the Knicks blew the doors wide open right away, and they never gave it away. Though I was very apprehensive because we have seen them fumble the bag before.
We've seen lots of teams fumble the bag. I was
very worried that was going to happen. But then fourth quarter, we saw Jalen Brunson paint a masterpiece as he is wont to do in the fourth quarter, and he was just like freezing Dyson Daniels over and over, and
really?
It was chef's kiss. Just the Brunson special. Loved it.
That's good because Dyson Daniels, one of the best defenders in the NBA, but maybe still has some.
If he's the great barrier thief or whatever, then Brunson was like climate change. It's like, sorry, this is an unstoppable force.
That was really good. That was really good, Brian. Like, I'm actually like, damn.
You ain't stopping this.
Yo, I wish I had a reason to steal that, but that was so good. But look, I know not everybody here is a basketball fan like us, for the folks here, we appreciate y'all and listening to us rant about the playoffs because it's the most wonderful time of year. But also, Wes, dishing it back to you. Give and go.
He doesn't want us to talk about the Pistons is what really just happened.
No. Look, I could do a whole I could do a whole episode talking about my Pistons, but I'm trying to recognize
strategic mind.
I'm trying to recognize the brand. And
he said we could just move right along, reclaiming our time.
Look, we're not going to talk about the Invincible Pistons. We're going to talk about Invincible, the latest season, back half.
I don't even know what season we're on. Season 5, season 4, something like that. So Invincible, current season, it just ended. What a run of a season. I really enjoyed this whole season. I know it didn't maybe have all of the like different side quest kind of shows and episodes and things like that sprinkled in that we had talked about last time we talked about the show. But I actually really enjoyed the way that this one actually all just sort of was one coherent story. And a little bit of a plot twist ending on my part. I really thought that it was going to go a different way. So I'm excited to get into it. We're going to sort of structure the show. Actually, we're just going to follow the major beats of the season as after the last time we talked about this. So we talked about this after episode 3 last time, which is the Hell episode where we kind of took our one side quest actually, and we talked about whether that was a good move or not. So let's just start it off, kick it off. If you haven't seen it, be prepared for spoilers and enjoy the ride. So one of the earlier things that happens right after that, or kind of the mid-season things, was we get a pretty knockdown, drag-out battle between Conquest and Mark. Well, really, it was between everybody, but Conquest and Mark really become the star of the show here at the end, and it's an interesting culmination of the debate that's going on right now about whether Mark is going to be willing to kill when the time is needed, right? He starts out as someone who is not a killer especially because he doesn't want to be like Nolan. He then sees what happens when you don't kill and don't take people out all the way, and kind of decides maybe I will kill, especially if I need to protect my family or Oliver. And this is him living that moment. So, Savon, what did you think of that battle, and then leading up to it, leading up to the Mark and Conquest knockdown drag out?
Wait, so are we talking Mark, the Mark Conquest rematch? You said?
Yeah.
Oh, I've been waiting for this. Look, this is one of my favorite encounters in the series. Is just knowing, oh, we think Conquest is done. Oh, we know he's alive. Okay, how is he gonna fit back into the plot? And their rematch is not a lot of gap between it too. It's a very short period of time between, hey, I'm back, let's get busy. And I mean, I don't know what else to say. I loved it. Like, it was one of my favorite fights in the series. They did it justice. The even just like the extra animation parts, like I love the space fight. I love Conquest just coming in, immediately talking his shit, ready to get busy. I love that they really sell, and I might disagree, but they really sell how terrifying Conquest is. Like, yes, there's Viltrumites who are arguably stronger than him, but I'm just never more terrified than when he's on screen, because he's just... Everyone else is fighting for like efficiency in the kill, and he's really just in it for the love of the game, and it shows. Like when he was trying to red rush Oliver, and really when Oliver flies back to the planet to get air, and he's just like, no, I'm absolutely not.
Is that the one where you get that frame where Conquest comes up behind him and just like
one of the most terrifying,
like sledgehammers him?
One of the most terrifying things I have seen in the show, because like Conquest didn't have to do that, right? We know, like, hey man, the real threats and pertinent stuff is here, but you're such a cruel monster that you see this little boy who's the outmatched fly for air, and you say, what? He start barbecue chicken.
Finish
like,
your food.
He start licking his chops like Shaq in the post on a mismatch, and he immediately rushes this man. But yes, that frame of him about to smack him.
Woo!
And even how
that was incredible.
And even when he grabbed Mark to kick off of Mark to get the boost and leave him behind, like, it was so scary. And then them building that up until, you know, the actual Conquest Mark fight, which I'm a big fan of, because one, and I might be wrong, correct me, is this Mark's first like intentional kill of like, yo, I'm bloodlusted, I'm trying to kill you, there's no moral quandary, I'm trying to, like, right? Like, I think Angstrom, it was somewhat of an
guy with the Sequid. He killed the guy with the Sequid.
But that wasn't like an intentional, like he was thinking, that was like a moral quandary kill, because there was
intentional. I mean, he did the calculus.
Yeah.
I guess my point is that, like, in a, like, yo, we're fighting, I'm not conflicted about it, I don't have to think about it, I'm just outright trying to kill you. And that, I think that was his Conquest was his first, like, yo, point blank, no ifs, ands, or buts, I'm trying to ice you. And they have a fight where he's just got him in a chokehold the whole time, and the way they just showed the environmental destruction, they just did the fight justice, man. And there's not a lot of fights that are that good where the person who wins doesn't throw a single punch. I don't think Mark threw a punch. He took
all the punches.
He just choked him out, like, for a full, how long was that fight? 4 or 5 minutes of just choking him out. But I love it. They did it justice. Everyone was deeply uncomfortable, as they should have been. And the icing on the cake is that they did some really good character development between Mark and between Nolan and Oliver that I always appreciate. And it's nice that they took advantage of the time skip of him being hurt. But like, when it's all said and done, they adapted the fight. Like, that whole sequence, they adapted it perfectly. They added in some new stuff that I was a fan of. No notes.
Nice.
It was a tough watch, though.
Yeah, for sure. Like the good kind of tough watch.
Yeah. It was intentional, right? Like, seeing Mark just like hold on with every last breath that he had onto Conquest's like throat and just like holding on for dear life while getting his intestines pulled out. Like, you know, like it was like one of those things where they say like if they unraveled your intestines, you know, it could span the globe or something like that. And they were just trying to prove that fact.
30 feet.
With Conquest pulling out the entrails like over and over and over, and like there
were too many entrails.
You got about 30. You got about 30, 35 feet of entrails.
Oh my god! He just kept going. Like, what else was gonna fall out of Mark's stomach? And it's like he's got to be dead. Like, how do you survive something like that? But you know, of course, he's part Viltrumite. So it was quite the battle and tough watch. But I think, you know, deservedly so, right? Like it had to one up the previous fight with Conquest, and you know, as the stakes ratchet up, like, so, you know, so do the dynamics of the fight.
Mm-hmm.
It also showed how much stronger Mark had gotten, right, in terms of like his determination, his like clear-eyedness around, no, this dude has to go.
Yeah,
clear-eyed, full hearts.
Yeah.
Right?
And Nolan said it himself, like, yo, man, you just were motivated in a way that he wasn't. And because Mark didn't even believe he did it. He was like, yo, who killed him? And it was like, well, you put that work in. Yeah. Like, yo, good job, bro. And it was like, yeah, Mark, I see you, boy.
You're a killer like me now.
Mm-hmm. A quick thing I'll add, Wes, and I'll pass it to you. One thing that I really appreciate with this fight is that most animated shows, when you have a fight, it's meant to be cool. Oh man, look at that choreography. Oh, look at that sick move, that duck, that shit that we're going to talk about in the later fights, where it's like, oh, this is really, really cool. This was not a cool fight. There was nothing cool about this shit. There's no moment where I'm like, oh man, I got to watch that part again. I have never seen a fight that was so viscerally just like, I don't even know if fight is the word I use. Like, it wasn't like a battle or a duel. It was just like, it was just getting at it. I don't even know what to describe, but it didn't feel like a regular fight. But shout out to them for also making a conflict that, like, no, this isn't meant to be rule of cool or them doing cool Viltrumite shit. This is just two dudes trying to murder each other. And they really sold that, because everybody I know who watched it didn't even describe it as cool or badass. They just said, oh man, this is uncomfortable. You know what? It almost reminds me of House of the Dragon, when you first have the battle with the dragons are fighting, and you're thinking, oh yeah, dragon fight, this is gonna be awesome. Then you're watching and you're like, oh, this is kind of awful. Like, they're bleeding and crying, and this is actually really, really, this isn't cool. You're like, this is awful. But I think that is a very hard thing to do, and I want to give them props for doing that, and then balancing it with the fights we get later to really show just how, even though that fight is less important than the others, it was more consequential in the moment in terms of what mattered to Mark, and it showed in terms of just like, yeah, it was some hard shit to watch. All right.
Nice. I agree with you guys. I'm not going to add anything, so let's keep going. We get a little bit of an invasion of Thalestria, which is the home of the coalition of planets, and then right after that, we get the counter invasion where Thetis and the crew decide, hey, we can actually maybe try and surprise them, because they kind of pushed them back, right? Like they kind of got a little bit of a stalemate going. I forget what happened, but they were able to sort of push them back.
The Nolan family swooped in the middle of that attack and changed the outcome, right? Like it was looking bad, I think, for the Allied planets, and then things kind of evened out, or even actually maybe they got the momentum.
They blew up the Viltrumite ship. The warship the Viltrumites came with, that Thrag was on, when Mark and Nolan and pull up, they blew it up, and then that's when they said, okay, actually, we're going to retreat.
They flew right through the middle of the ship to destroy it, which was great foreshadowing.
The Viltrumite bullet technique. Not undefeated, but very high success rate.
So we get them, and I think the Battle of Thalestria really just highlights like how terrible it can be when the Viltrumites actually concentrate on a planet and start coming in guns blazing, and then kind of sets us up for the finale, actually, right? And then they find out who the mole is. It turns out to be one of the coalition of planets, navigator, calculator, people, kind of the planners, the quants, and then they decide, to much consequence, that, hey, you know what? Since they're on the run, we should go back to to Viltrum, because that planet's going to be unguarded. Thrag will be there, but he won't have his army around him, and we know they've been a little bit depleted, so they decide to attack Viltrum, and oh boy, that blows up in their face. Brian, what did you think about
things blow up for certain?
Yeah, what did you think about that whole sequence and how that kind of played out? Because I actually really liked that. I thought that was like pretty cool in the way that kind of it's sort of like played with our expectations, and then like played with our expectations again, and then it's like, oh shit, and then it's like, yeah, and then no. Like there was kind of like this roller coaster of things happening.
It was an intense fight for a lot of reasons. One, you get, of course you're finally getting head to head with all the Viltrumites, right?
Are you talking about the first fight at Thalestria, or are you talking about
No, I'm talking about once we get to Viltrum, right? That's
okay, wait, but can we talk about the like peekaboo nature of the start of the fight?
Wait, which fight? Both fights were both battles had peekaboos. A lot of these fights.
Oh, well, when they go to Viltrum, they're like, this planet isn't guarded. Like, this will be our chance. And
when they're
hiding in the corpses. They're hiding in the corpses.
Has the actual ring of billions of bodies from the Scourge virus massacre. And so the Viltrumites are just hiding in there like Star Wars, when the Millennium Falcon hides in the asteroid belt. They're just in there, and then as soon as the Coalition of Planets team, Nolan's team comes through, they go, surprise, bitch, and then they just attack them.
We're
basically.
not dead.
Yeah,
that was hard, because I was like, yo, that's legit. like I'm sitting there like,
that's what you got to do.
I don't know what you, and also just like I don't know what you do about that one. Like,
yeah, that lets you know right away though, like this was not going to go the way that you thought it was going to go. Like the Viltrumites still had some tricks up their sleeve here.
Yeah, not an easy fight, to say the least. But and I think I want to say this battle probably started not even halfway of the episode. Maybe, at least that's what it felt like to me, right? It's like the Thalestria fight was kind of quick, and then all of a sudden we're going to Viltrum, and it's not even the half point of the episode, but that fight lasts like 30 minutes. I don't know. It felt like 30 minutes. It's probably not.
No, it's really
probably not. But it lasted a real long time.
It's really long.
That it had so many ebbs and flows, right? And
no one complaining about the animation in that episode.
Well, that's the thing. I was going to say, there's a reason why Mark and company went to hell in that other episode and we saw absolutely nothing. It's because they were saving the entire animation budget for episode 7.
We don't need good animation for character development. Save it for the hands.
Yeah, there were fights in the hell episode that happened off screen.
The Cerberus.
And I think this is the reason why. So we get like the Nolan family, we get Thrag, we get a host of other Viltrumites, and we get Alan, Battle Beast, Space Racer, Tech Jacket. It was pretty awesome, right? Because of all those forces coming together. And each pocket of that fight, like any great climactic battle moment in some of the biggest action movies you remember, right? Like each pocket of the fight gets its due and its screen time. So we see this dynamic between Alan and Tech Jacket where she's trying to shoot darts, he's trying to protect her. We see like Nolan and Invincible and Oliver kind of like wrangle or try to do some teamwork together. And then of course, like Oliver, despite all the training that he did with Nolan while Mark was convalescing, is still a little bit green, even though he's purple.
Less purple now.
Has his jaw knocked off and his arm ripped off too. Like, oh my God.
It was a hand crack it was like a hand crap into a grab the other arm jaw smack that he was holding the arm, so the other arm just got ripped off because the jaw and the body got pretty brutal shit.
Yikes.
Casually brutal too.
Like this show has really weaponized violence against Oliver to like really signal to us as the audience, like, oh my God, I'm terrified again, right? He is threatened. And now his older brother has to act. And unfortunately, in this time, it's not acting against Conquest, it's acting against Thrag, who we discover very quickly in this episode, in this fight, that this guy is truly the Invincible One, right? Like he is the master of Viltrumites. He is moving at a level that the others just can't even comprehend. Like Nolan,
he's giving Nolan the business as if it's nothing.
Yeah,
it's like these guys are ants relative to him.
Yeah, this is how other people feel with Viltrumites.
Terrifying.
Yeah,
he's like a Viltrumite to other races, to his fellow Viltrumites. Like, dang, that's what we doing?
He uppercuts Nolan and makes him take off like that rocket that took the astronauts to the moon. Like, just
like
Nolan starts breaking, like having heat shockwaves coming off of him through the atmosphere. He's going so fast.
He isn't even controlling himself at that point. Oh, he's not flying. He has no control.
Yeah, he just got launched.
Keep in mind, previously he turned him into a meteor. He turned him into a meteor. And before that, he punched him down into Earth, had a whole conversation, then did a vortex punch to send him back into space. All, by the way, show original stuff that they added. That wasn't in the comic at all. And I was just sitting there, just jaw hit the floor. Yeah, I have a couple of thoughts about some of the fights.
Beating up Thrag is not going to be how we defeat him, I think is the moral of the story.
I think that's at least the biggest takeaway of like, hey, at least not with this group. But
yeah.
So a couple of the things
we also got Thaddeus, who's the leader of the Coalition of Planets, taking off his robe and showing that physique,
that sleeper build,
actually scrapping too. Yeah.
Which by the way, a detail I liked, and this is something I wanted to talk about the Leskra battle too. And again, sorry, I'm going to be that guy about this is like a comic adaptation they did, but it's a really good one. I like how they did some of the power scaling to hype up some of the stuff that happens later in the fight. So a little detail y'all might not have noticed. I know, maybe. Every time we saw Thaddeus fighting, especially in Leskra, but in Viltrum, he's pretty easily handling his fellow Viltrumites. Like, I think at one point he fights the guy with the eye patch who's voiced by Clancy Brown. He was whooping his ass. Lucan, the Steve Harvey Viltrumite, he was kind of whooping his ass.
Steve Harvey Viltrumite.
Yeah, several times when he's fighting. My point is, they were kind of subtly, even on the planet when he fights like Anissa, the younger woman, when he's whooping her ass. And they pretty established quickly, hey, Thaddeus can kind of handle his fellow Viltrumites one-on-one really quickly, which was a dope detail that builds up to one of the climaxes of the fight where, hey, this is the guy who can easily handle the other Viltrumites who also just gets he gets one-shotted, right? Like one of the most vicious one-shots ever. So I kind of want to just build up like, hey, I actually like how they were doing some subtle stuff to kind of give you a sense of where the Viltrumite hierarchy is. Like, the guy who's handling all the evil Viltrumites still can get one shot by their leader to give you an idea of just how outclassed everybody is. And I like those little details. Just, frankly, it hypes up Thrag. And to me, at least, he lived up to the hype of a character who gets introduced fairly late into the series with someone who's so important. And I really think they did some little things around the edges that really makes his introduction really land home. Like in the comic, he still wrecks shop, but they are able to draw blood on him and have some moments where it's like, okay, he's still the strongest by far, but they made him bleed. They really adjusted that to say, hey man, nah, don't even give you like I think Wes, to your point, to probably drop on the finale, oh, why didn't they do something? Hey, they really did not stand a chance. But just some other fight highlights I liked. I liked the use of Tech Jacket being a support essentially and just weakening Viltrumites for Alan. I like the little 1-2 punch. I know people might want Tech Jacket to blow more shit up, but like Viltrumites are just stupid strong.
She cannot.
That's just not how it goes. So I actually like the whole dart. She was like a support in like an Overwatch type game. I dig that dynamic. Shout out to Space Racer.
She nerfed him.
Space Racer.
Shout out to Space Racer.
He was the best
the MVP.
Non-Viltrumite character.
He pulled up with the Ragnars. He pulled up with the Blicky. He is blasting Viltrumites left and right. Not left and right, but he is getting his. He is pulling his fair share of weight for this squad. You know,
it's kind of interesting that the Viltrumites have a tough time with the Ragnars, right?
I mean, I think it's a weakness established.
How does that happen?
I mean, they said, right, the Ragnar planet has stupid, crazy gravity, and that's why they're so strong. And even when they showed it earlier in the series, like, right, Nolan and Alan almost got killed by the Ragnar. Every time we've seen Ragnars on screen, even before this, they established, hey, yo, they will F a Viltrumite up like it ain't nothing. The only thing stopping them is that they're dumb animals. Like, that's the only real...
They're not planning things out.
Yeah, they're just dumb animals. So, like, but Space Racer with the Ragnar, that was going hard. Just everybody in the dynamics, even just the nameless Viltrumites and how, to your point, Brian, the battle went on long enough to where you can start to see battle damage accumulate with the characters. I don't know if at one point, a certain Viltrumite who does get shot by Space Racer at the end, he was still fighting, but at one point, this dude had one arm and one leg, still fighting, but through the course of the fight, he just had lost his limbs. Or Krieg, the one with the eye patch, had like a broken forearm that stayed broken the whole episode, because Status broke his arm. Or even the Steve Harvey Viltrumite, Lucan, had like these huge arm gashes where look, his forearm was barely hanging on. But all that to say, Brian, the episode was long enough for you to really be like, man, they fight. Everybody's getting hurt. Like everybody by the end, both sides, everyone's covered in blood, slashed up, missing limbs, uniforms ripped up. There were just so many little details in the fight of just like, man, they really just put their foot in it. But I'll give the destruction of Viltrum, I'll pass that to one of y'all.
Yes, before we get to the the very, very end, I wanted to ask you what you were saying about Thrag being just like completely untouchable. It didn't bother me in the moment at all, and I don't think it bothers me now, but I'm wondering if you guys thought that, if either of you thought that him being that like physically overpowered makes him like less interesting in some ways as a character, right? Like he has no vulnerabilities that we know of. Maybe the virus will affect him, but maybe not, right? Like he survived the first round of the virus, so it's probably not going to kill him. Unclear on that one. I don't know. Brian, did you feel like he has the Superman problem where it's just like you're sort of uninteresting because you're so like untouchable, or is it like because he's a villain that actually is okay?
I think it's okay because it didn't seem like he was supremely untouchable. It just seemed like it would take a lot of effort to take him out, right? It's almost as if like that grouping of coalition battlers, right, would have to show up and only face Thrag, right? If none of the other Viltrumites were there to peel each one of those off, like, okay, yeah, then he seems a little bit more approachable because you have Tech Jacket firing these poisonous darts. You have Space Racer's laser that's just like passing through the outer space sky, and like, damn, if you get hit by it, you're pretty much done, right? So
yeah, we don't know. He didn't take on Thrag with the gun, so we're not sure how.
But it just seemed like all the Viltrumites were trying to avoid getting hit by that laser.
Yeah.
With good reason.
And it was jumping them too. There was like there was a point where they were actively jumping Space Racer because they realized, hey yo,
yeah, we got to get
shit.
this. Yeah,
enough of this shit. Like the threat recognition was there.
It's like who's firing this thing?
Double team.
Like, where's this coming from? Right.
We got to send the double early.
Exactly.
So yeah, you got to blitz. You got to blitz them. So I took it as if like there were threats, right? And even Nolan, he understood just how strong Thrag was, but felt like if we could team up against him, then we had a shot. Right.
Yeah.
And so I think I took that at face value. And then,
Okay.
and then the other aspect of it is not necessarily how powerful Thrag was, but how emotional he was. And that is a key thing that I think the TV show added that, correct me if I'm wrong, Savon, that the comic books didn't. It was just like have
they
this whole
into it
like
they leaned into it a lot more.
backstory where he had an opportunity to stop Thaddeus, and he didn't, and so now he believes like weakness needs to be rooted out, and he has such like kind of love and care for Viltrum, conviction about it, and so like the fact that he's out there trying to scrap for the survival of his dwindling people, also makes him kind of a wild card at the same time, right? Like, and you see that by the end of the fight. And so like I think that kind of is what makes it interesting, and the fact that he is such a difficult boss to beat, but he also has these motivations, right? Helps culminate this battle into what Nolan, Thaddeus, Mark, and Space Racer ultimately do, which is plunge right into the heart of the planet itself.
Yeah, they said forget trying to take
emotional
on
damage.
Yeah,
like, we can't hurt your
going
body
after the thing that he cares about. Yeah, exactly.
It's
like when you go after someone's family member. That's the equivalent of what
that's the Superman problem. They say, all right, Superman, you can't be hurt, but what about Lois? What about your parents on the farm? Like,
yeah,
I think that's good
We're
point,
coming
Brian.
for it. Yeah. And they realize that midway through the fight, and they push all their chips in. Mark doesn't even know. Like,
Mark don't know what the hell going on.
What are we doing?
I don't even think Mark agreed with that plan. He was like, "Hey, we sure we should do this?" And he's like, "Stay close." And just like, oh boy,
no time to think.
I don't think Mark was okay with that plan. I think in hindsight,
planet genocide.
So we're just gonna kick the. Well, nobody was living there. That's the thing. They killed people in space. They did on Viltrum. But the point is, like, yo, you kicked the hornet's nest and then went home.
Yeah.
Brian, a quick thing I'll add, and also Wes, to your question, like, it's always good to have a villain who's not just a rabid dog, who has their own morals, their own values, their own specific like things to them. And to your point, Brian, like, that makes Thrag arguably the strongest character in the show, but he's not a wild animal, so he can be talked with, he can be negotiated with. He has things that he values and doesn't value, and I mean, if anything, it makes for a more interesting villain because, yes, you can't beat him up, but you can reason with him to some extent. And then that just changed. I mean, Wes, I know you're making that face, but like, to be clear, Thrag 100% could have killed all of them and subjected Earth. So like,
that doesn't mean he can be reasoned with.
I think it absolutely does mean he can be reasoned with. He doesn't mean he's someone who you're going to be allied or cool with, but like, the fact that even the way the season ended the way it did makes Thrag a more interesting character than other Viltrumites, because we've always seen them just handles their stuff through force and fighting. And so to see the Viltrumite who can fight the best also be very intentional and diplomatic is very different from what we've kind of seen previously. I mean, to some extent, but like at a high level. And like, it, all that to say, Thrag is a very interesting character to have in the show right now. And it's not even because he's the strongest Viltrumite. It's because he cares about the Viltrumites to such an extent that he won't kill Mark. And that's just a very weird place to be of like, all right, how's that relationship gonna develop in the later seasons with all these other players also? So like, I don't know, I just think he's a very cool addition to the chessboard with all the other factions that we have. But, and the other thing I'll say is, again, the show is really knocking it out the park with these Viltrum flashbacks and exposition that the comic did not give us. So seeing a younger, knowing about why Thaddeus betrayed the Viltrumite, they never told us that. Seeing the Scourge, the Purge firsthand, we never saw that. In fact, we even got a little callback where they used some of the same.
That was nuts. The Purge? That was crazy.
But they used some of the same stills from when Nolan's talking about the Purge. And then we see some of the same stills from the actual Purge, except the coloring and lighting is different to emphasize. Nolan talked about it as if it was a good thing. It's a bright, clear, beautiful day with the Viltrumites looking at the corpses of their fellow killed people. But then the other one is the same characters too, even younger Conquest, Krieg, all them, but with the dark green and lightning, and it's a shitty environment. But all of that Viltrumite exposition has been really good in terms of just better understanding motivations of Viltrumite characters who are important to the story, but they just didn't flesh it out. Like, even the whole bit about Thetis and leaving a secret message, like, I don't think he left a message for... Did he do that in the comics, Brian? Where he left, like, such a detailed message of, like, yo, they have to die. Like,
I think we knew the consequences of the new virus.
Yeah, we knew that,
but I don't remember if it's in a message or something.
Yeah, but I don't think Thetis was just straight up, nah, man, I don't care what they say, we have to kill all the Viltrumites. But even moments like that are like, oh, so Thetis is still kind of a Viltrumite at heart. Like, even when they're talking about the war and they're saying, he's kind of being a little callous about all the deaths, and he's like, it's a price worth paying. All that is show only stuff that, like, yeah, Thetis is dead and his part in the story is concluded, but you understand why he's doing the Scourge virus a bit more, because you can see, yes, he cares, but he still is cold in the way Viltrumites can be, and this is how it still manifests, even if he's not on the side of the bad guys. But they've done a really good job of just giving us backstory to better understand the Viltrumite motivations and why they do what they do, which the comic did, but they just did it better. Like, Nolan and him having that whole conversation on Earth on Viltrum was great, because you just get to learn about Thrag more in a way that you just never before. Learning that the Purge was him actually overcorrecting because of his own, like, guilt over the death of Argal. They never gave us any of that before. You just knew he was the Grand Regent after he get killed by Thetis. It's all mentioned off screen, and you just have to be cool with that. But when you give us these long extended scenes and you see these characters, you even see Thetis and Krieg the General have their own little interpersonal beef, and that's why, so when they're fighting in the fight scenes, there's extra weight to him saying, where's the betrayer? And I'm right here. And he punches the shit out of him. Like, they're doing a little small things around the edges that are just fleshing out character motivations more. And I think it just adds more weight to the story. Also, shout out to Argal being voiced by the guy who did Megatron, and us getting an Optimus v Megatron moment when Thetis goes to kill Argal.
Oh, I didn't recognize that. That's cool.
They literally had an Optimus Megatron moment where it's just the two old guys are both Optimus and Megatron. I'm like, what the hell is going on here?
But nice Easter egg.
But yeah, but nice little, but again, they're doing really good. Yeah, the flashbacks of building out this stuff has been a really, really great addition. I think, frankly, a standout element of the season.
All right, and then let's talk about kind of the resolution. So, in terms of plot points, there's kind of a stalemate. The Viltrumites who are surviving this big battle after Mark and Nolan and Oliver blow up the planet. It was Oliver? Maybe Oliver's not in this point. Was he?
No, he's out of
because he was injured.
He is floating around.
They don't even know where he is. Yeah.
Okay.
They're looking for
him.
They're looking.
So
maybe
who
they
blows
found
up the
a
planet
job
besides Mark and Nolan?
And Thetis. Space Racer shoots
Thetis.
Space Racer shoots the laser to make a hole in the planet, and then they fly through the hole
to blow it up.
To really
so they get to the core. They do a Star Wars. It blows up. Alderaan basically.
They do a Star Wars.
they do an Alderaan.
You're not wrong. It's just a funny way to say it.
And they kill the planet, right? So the battle ends basically right there. I think there's one more little thing, Coda, right, where Thetis dies.
Little thing.
Well, Thrag is obviously really hurt by what transpires.
Oh yeah, okay.
He cried.
And then that's when he one-shots Thetis, right? Out of just like full rage and fury. And then he goes after Mark and Nolan, but only he basically subdues
Doesn't he have
Nolan.
like a flashback at some point, like in the middle
and
of
then
that?
he's about to like basically like head pop Mark, but then he's like looking at the aftermath of the destruction of Viltrum in the background, and he has a realization that he's not going to kill another Viltrumite now, right? So he takes Mark out, but he doesn't kill him, and then they all retreat because he's just so devastated by what just took place and doesn't want any more Viltrumite death.
Mm-hmm.
Basically,
so he's trying.
And
he
realized Mark is the key.
To preserve the Viltrumites.
Yeah, but also he realized Mark is the key. Their entire thing, remember, was that they needed to find a planet suitable for population, And he also recognized, it kind of built up in the episode too, right? That like when Mark says, I killed Conquest, which by the way, sick mic drop moment, because everybody dropped what they was doing and was like, hold on, what? Like everyone stopped and was just, hold on, that's some shit. But my point is that I think that's also a moment to Thrag to realize, oh, this half Viltrumite killed Conquest. This is actually, you know, part of the reason he realized, and our planet is destroyed. Oh, I want to kill him so bad for what he's done, but actually his planet in place is the key to us being able to rebuild. And again, like this is where the diplomatic part comes in, because he knows if he goes in there and starts a ruckus, the coalition will be on their tails again, so they can't do that. So he has to go the diplomatic route. But all that starts with, oh shit,
he could have killed Mark right there still.
Yeah, my point is that had he gone, he could have. But my point is, had they gone, and they already kind of established, they go to Earth, they could start a bunch of ruckus, but they already had that alert system set up, so the coalition comes, and then it becomes, you know.
No, it was. Oh, I see. But it was late. So what happens, or in my memory of it, what happens, right, is that like the Viltrumites fuck off and they leave. The coalition of planets folks, you know, Alan, Nolan, all them, they lick their wounds. They got to find Oliver. They get him set up for treatment. And then in the process, Mark has this realization that like, wait, like the place they disappeared to must have been Earth, right? Just because I think he's thinking, well, it seems like he's thinking that like the Viltrumites are vindictive, right? They're revenge. Yeah, right. Like we killed their planet. Now they're going to come back for our planet. And so he says, oh shit, we've got to get back. So they hightail it back to Earth. They you know, they scope it out. We get started with episode 8 with a fake out, right? Like Mark is we see Mark and he's trying to get back to the planet, and all of a sudden we realize that the Viltrumites are just destroying everything in the way that they know how, in the way that we saw in Telescria. And then it turns out that Mark is having an imagination, right? He's catastrophizing what could happen, and it's due to his PTSD from all of this fighting and from going up against Thrag. And that becomes a theme in that last, is the whole episode or the last 2 episodes?
Where we see flashback.
Yeah, we see plenty of these things where you can tell, like in a lot of ways, he's broken. His trauma has really taken over, and it rears its head in regular normal situations where he actually imagines like Thrag coming in and killing people, or Viltrumites coming in and killing his loved ones, and it really like freezes him up and really like shakes him. And that's what we spent actually most of that last episode on, is Mark trying to adjust back to life, but we see that he's really struggling, right? Someone coming back from war, you know, in the way that soldiers come back from war, but just in a pretty brutal way. And it's affecting his ability to connect with his friends and his family. It's affecting his ability to like just function on a day-to-day basis. He's not doing the thing where he just hid out in his room forever, but it's certainly a huge problem for him, right? And he's got some help from Eve and Debbie and stuff, but yeah, just like an interesting thing. And then in terms of like the timing, they come back and they set up kind of a planet-wide warning system, right? I don't know if they got help from Cecil on that or what, but Nolan says he's going to leave, and you know, and the reason he wants to leave is he wants to go spend time with Oliver, and actually Debbie ends up going with him, which is kind of interesting. We find that she actually broke up with Paul in the meantime, and it's I thought the timing was that they actually got back first. The Viltrumites, like Thrag and them, were there already. They've already established themselves. They got back before Mark's team got back. So in terms of like the planet detection system or whatever, Viltrumite detection system, that actually, you know, they closed up the later. Net, but the people had already gotten in. So that's all. That was how I read that one.
Yeah.
You know, and so they got the checkmate was already in place. All this stuff that they were imagining and preventing against, it was like, it's actually you did all of that for nothing. Yeah, I don't know. What did you think about before we get to the very, very end where Mark talks to our good friend Thrag? How did you feel about kind of like all the reunion stuff, them connecting with Eve confessing that she had an abortion while Mark was gone? You know, Debbie deciding that actually kind of at Paul's suggestion, right, that she's gonna actually go see Oliver and leaves, you know, Earth for the first time, all that good stuff. I don't know, Savon, how did you feel like that last episode goes? It ends up not being kind of the climax of the show. The climax ends up actually being the first the previous episode.
Well, I think it's a good emotional climax. It's definitely a good emotional climax, but like it did what it was supposed to do. Like Invincible, in my opinion, is a good comic because it balances this really awesome, fantastic superhero world and all these crazy, ridiculous concepts. You know, you go from having a spaceman with a laser that can shoot through anything and a little girl with like a robot suit fighting in space to PTSD and familial relationships and getting counseling and therapy. And that's why Invincible is so good. That the show does a really good job of just having the grounded character people moments be very impactful and very meaningful. It's not a coincidence that Debbie is a lot of people's favorite character, even though she doesn't have any, or at least a lot of people enjoy Debbie's scenes in character. I know I do, because she's just an interesting character and written very well and has good dialogue, right? And they put her in situations where she gets to be interesting. And they did a great job of this episode with everybody else. I love even Mark's relationship. I love that it's not perfect, but there's a lot of very just mutual support and it feels very realistic. And they both have their trials and struggles. I like that Mark is always just struggling with the whole thing. You know, we went from, I know Wesley was getting sick of sad boy Mark in season 2, but now we have full on PTSD Mark in this shit. And I just like that they're not shying away from all the crap he's been through and recognizing how that can just inform how he, you know, how he changes as a person. And, you know, a lot of shows just don't necessarily talk about the accumulated battle trauma, and this show leans into it. And one, it makes for really good character moments where people are just talking about the shit that happened. And again, it gives it room to breathe, but also it makes all the fights have stakes because one, Mark just is not coming out. No one's coming out of these Invincible fights clean. Like, even if you win, you've taken some licks. They usually take months to bounce back from. And so the fights, even when Mark's winning, losing, whatever, they have weight and impact. And it makes you really understand why he's having this breakdown that he's having, right? Because when you really think about all the shit he's been through and recent events, it's like, yeah, why wouldn't you be fucked up in the head after all that? But, you know, the fact that they didn't shy away from it, I don't know, it's just good dialogue. This is when Invincible shines its best. The fight scenes and all that only work because they have these character moments to make the stakes feel real and the investment in the characters be super heavy. And it was dope. And they did a great job of ending that with the final emotional climax of, you know, Mark thinking he's having a hallucination. It's like, oh, nah, this is real as it gets for like what was an awesome ending. But like, it was a great Let It Breathe episode. Like, I didn't really have any real complaints. I think, and this isn't a complaint, this is just an observation, but I love that Mark was so traumatized that he couldn't even remember that he's supposed to be mad at Cecil right now for keeping Conquest alive and having him escape and then disembowel him. Like, there's so much happening, he doesn't even have time to be mad at Cecil right now. But I don't have any real complaints. I enjoyed it. I like how they ended the season. And I think for folks who are new to the story, this is really where, like, this is a real status quo shifter, in my opinion, which is always great for moving the larger story forward. Which I know we talked about. Hey, I want the larger story to move forward. We talked about that seasons ago. This is it. This is happening. Like, we've been building up this Viltrum shit for years, and now the show's in like a new phase damn near. So, good stuff.
Yeah,
I enjoyed
it was a little bit Endgame Infinity War, right? Like, it kind of closes up this Viltrumite War. And I love that this entire season was really focused on it. I know we talked about, like, well, we missed those Slice of Life episodes, but I think given the length of the season, I think it was probably the right choice, to me at least, to really just make every episode about the Viltrumite War, except that one Hell episode. And I thought that Hell episode still had some nice purpose in terms of, like, having Mark really grapple with the idea of, like, killing and whether it's justified and that kind of stuff. Brian, what did you think of the last episode, except for not about the ending, but everything else that led up to that? Nolan's redemption, Mark, all that.
Yeah, I was gonna say the other half of the episode, right? You know, aside from Mark dealing with his hallucinations, is Nolan returning to Earth?
Oh yeah, that's right, Nolan.
Where he killed, I don't remember the number, but Cecil definitely does.
2,800 something people.
Yeah, like, and Cecil is like, you know, putting that in his face, like, you know, you have a lot of death that you have to you know, pay your penance for. And Nolan, you know, throughout this season has been, you know, working with Alan, trying to become a better person, understanding the issues with Viltrum, right? So he has that whole episode with Alan early on in the season where he's grappling with that. Then he has the episode where Mark is convalescing on the desert planet, and he's trying to be a father for Oliver and try to patch that up and also let that build him up in a redemption type arc. And then now he's finally back on Earth, and and he's going straight to Debbie, right? He's trying to take responsibility for what he did, but also acknowledge at the same time and make clear to her that he is aware of these things now and that he's a changed person, and that a big reason, at least according to him, of why he has changed and no longer the ruthless Viltrumite that he was because of his relationship with Debbie. And I think that that is a very full, rich character development for a guy who famously in the first season was the most unredeemable character, right? He just like murdered everybody. He's the whole reason why all this stuff popped off. And now we've come full circle with him, to which he's basically begging for forgiveness. And I love the fact that the show doesn't just let him have it, that they use Debbie as a very visceral, prominent voice piece to basically push back on everything that Nolan is doing, and say like, this is still selfish. You're like trying to do this stuff for yourself, and I'm not just gonna like give into this and accept these things that you're claiming and all this stuff. And it leaves Nolan kind of grasping. He has to try harder. He has to demonstrate more how much he has actually changed. And I think this episode is setting us up for more of that mending to take place, or for something really bad to happen to Nolan, which could also be where the story is heading. Either way, it's going to be very interesting to watch.
Yeah. So my question is,
also my favorite part of the season, I think.
Oh yeah, it's been
maybe not my favorite. It was one of my favorites.
It's been interesting. Like, it's one of those, again, right? The best parts about this show isn't just the fights, it's how they get you to care about the characters so that when they are fighting, you care that much more. I'm not a Nolan fan, but I'm very intrigued in his journey. And so, like, I want to see, all right, man, what decisions are you going to make? But I love his conversations on Earth. I love the Cecil conversation. Also, to your point, Brian, I love Cecil's line of just, Earth isn't your therapy couch. And such a great line, because it brings up this really interesting philosophical question of, like, we've talked about, I think I've mentioned this before, of like, hey, what is the line between atoning and redeeming and forgiveness, and what do those things mean? Who deserves them? Like, does Nolan deserve forgiveness? If so, from who? Does he never deserve forgiveness, but he should just spend the rest of his life atoning? Like, it's all very fun philosophical questions that it's always fun to talk about, because every fan has just a different opinion of what they would be willing to, like, how they feel about Nolan and his arc, right? Like, for me, I'll never forgive him for killing like 2,000 plus people. Is just too big of a number for me to say, hey man, we're good. But there's always like the Sinclair, the guy who made the Reanimant thing, of like, okay, you may not be forgiven, but can you atone the rest of your life? And Invincible always goes into these themes of like, you've done something awful, does that define you, or can you move beyond that and be something different? You see it with all of Cecil and the GDA and all that, but I love that they're still having these themes. But I guess my kind of just question to y'all is like, what do y'all forgive? How do y'all feel with Nolan? Do you forgive him? Do you feel like I'll never forgive you, but maybe you can still try and do the right thing? Like, how do y'all feel? How is the story's attempt at his redemption arc, or whatever you want to call it? How's it landing with you? Like, I think it's well written, but like, how do you feel?
I felt like it worked in the sense that, like, I want Nolan to find some sort of redemption and to have the people around him finally accept him as his newer version of himself, right? And like the eternal hope or optimism of I don't know, maybe this is like also the thing you need as a teacher, right? Like when kids mess up, or like as a parent, when kids mess up, like you have to still hold in your mind, like you're doing something wrong right now, or you're messing up, or you're doing like an inappropriate thing right now. But like, what is my vision of you, and what is your vision of yourself when you're actually your best self in a week or in a month or in 2 years or in 10 years? Like you have to sort of hold those things in your mind at the same time. And I think like Nolan tries to actually remind Debbie of that idea, right? He says like you're something around the effect of like you're always the one who's willing to see the best in people and what they could be.
He said rehabilitation. He used the specific word, rehabilitation. Yeah. He used that exact word. Very intentional.
Okay. Right. And so I think like that was a good moment too, to be like, do you only walk that walk for other people, right? Or do you walk that walk at all times, even when it's hard? And like, I think like that is a good question, right? Of like, how far does that extend to someone who committed something so heinous as what Nolan did, right? And I think, you know, we also ask ourselves that a lot of times in society, right? Like somebody who takes somebody else's life here in the real world, if they've been in prison or they've done their sentence or whatever in 40 years and 30 years when they get out, if they get out, do they have the option to just reintegrate in society and say like, that was your consequence and now we have to treat you like we treat anybody else? Or is it like, actually, no, you still carry that with you and you don't get treated the same way anymore, even if you've done your like hard legal consequence, but like societally, do we accept you back into the fold? Or are you always a little bit of a pariah in some sense, right? Even though maybe you're no longer, we don't think you're necessarily a threat anymore, but like you still have to own that. And you know, like I think there are like interesting things there that are really, I don't know, impossible for everybody to answer universally, right? Everybody's line is going to be different in thoughts on that, but I don't know, I've fallen more on the side of like, you can see that Nolan is trying, you can see that Nolan is on a path towards, I'm treating people more humanely. I value life. I value the inputs of other people, and I'm willing to put my own life on the line for other people, right? Like he's no longer the selfish person who's just like, it doesn't matter what other people do. He's like, I'm going to take this on as like, you know, he's becoming more of the actual hero that he sold himself to be in the beginning of the show, you know, the very beginning of the show. So I don't know. I feel like to me, I feel like to me, I've really enjoyed watching Nolan become more of like the good version of himself and become more like actual Superman. Even if he's still a little bit, you know, working on how do you get through this, and certainly not the people around him have not accepted him, you know, and don't know how to accept him, right? You know, because of all the bad that he's done. But I certainly have bought it, and I want him to find some kind of redemption or something like that. Brian?
I think for me, it's, you know, just like even within the confines of the show and not about like, you know, real world implications of rehabilitation and stuff, like it's hard. I think it's hard not to root for Nolan for a lot of reasons. One, because we've spent so much time with him, understanding like what he went through as a Viltrumite, you know, from a young age. Like we know how messed
flashbacks
up,
help,
you know,
yeah.
Viltrum culture is and what they force all these children to do. And then we have also seen him struggle, right? Like even at the very end of the first fight, or the first season with his major fight with Mark, like we sort of see the difficulty that Nolan is having in that, right? Like he's never just been a ruthless killer. And then particularly in this season, you know, we spend time with him, hanging out with Alan, right? Which is just like making you like the, you know, the odd couple buddy nature of that relationship. And then we get a whole episode of him taking care of, you know, an ailing Mark and a struggling Oliver, right? And watching him grow into the mantle of a father is, you know, it's hard for me as a dude.
And he even learns from Oliver.
No, the
Oliver wants a father figure.
The evidence is mounting. Oliver even pledges mercy about killing the creatures on the planet so they can get more food.
And he goes, yeah, you're actually right. Like, I'm going to learn from my son in this way.
And on Thelesker, he actually says these aliens are enslaved. Try not to kill them if you can. I'm not a Nolan fan in terms of Nolan redemption, but like, props are props, dude. The show is adding a bunch of unique stuff to make it more earned. Like the line about sparing the people, the Oliver food thing, all that I'm pretty sure those were new additions. All of Nolan as a young person, like we never saw him as a youth. So yeah, I guess getting to see the nature versus nurture element of his upbringing and how hard it was to break away from. You're winning me over.
And you wrap that all up with J.K. Simmons.
Yeah, the performance is really good.
I think the show wants us to like this.
Yeah, I think where I'll still always stand is like that. You know, I'll never forgive him, but I like that but I recognize that he is a changed character and is changing, which I still am appreciating. Like, I'm okay with having a character who people don't forgive, but they still have genuinely become a better person. And like, that makes it more interesting of like,
that's okay,
are you going to be a good person based on how other folks treat you or because it's intrinsically the right thing to do? And I will say Omni-Man is leaning into the latter, which is making for some really good development. So yeah, I guess I'm kind of not on the redemption train, but like he's atoning. Really, he has changed as a person. I couldn't deny it. Good shit. No, it's a really good arc.
This is where, to your point earlier, this is where the show really shines, where none of the heroes and none of the villains are completely black and white, right?
No.
Like no one is a perfect villain and no one is a perfect hero. You look at Cecil, you look at even Mark, right? Like crossing the line of killing people. You look at
only Debbie.
Like
only Debbie is our golden light.
Yeah, you look at the Guardians of the right, like
they're not perfect.
They all have their issues. Like,
and trust
Rex
me, we'll learn
really
more.
Problematic.
And trust me, we're going to learn more about the Wes. I know you talk about the Guardians being a sideline. We're going to get more Guardians, and I think these themes that Brian and I talk about of redemption and your behaviors, and how like when you think about the scales of good versus bad, is it just them weighing out? Does one wash out the other? These types of questions we're not done thinking about this, but I want to talk about Thrag in the end.
We have Dinosaurus, who's going to be a character in later seasons, and he also produces a lot of moral quandaries for the heroes. So
it's not going away. They're going to make you have to like. There's never going to be never going to be situations where you say, "Oh, that was the clear right thing to do." It's like,
yeah. Sometimes it's a choice between two bad choices.
Look, shout out to Cecil.
All right, talk about Thrag. What? Okay, so just to set it up in case you haven't seen it, which I don't know if you'd be listening to this far if you haven't seen it. But
that would be wild behavior.
Oh man, Mark is on his little flyabout. Eve encourages him to get some air through the wind through his hair and relax a little bit just to see the world and appreciate its beauty. And because he's been having these flashbacks, or not flashbacks, but these hallucinations of bad things happening, he comes across Thrag in the air and he's like, oh my god, I'm gonna have another one of these, and he starts shaking and stuff, and then it just turns out that Thrag is actually he's just been living on Earth for the past few months, and now he's come to talk to Mark, mano y mano as a representative, as an emissary of some sense, and basically he says, I'm not loving this, but we got you by the testicles, and if you'd like for everybody to survive, you're gonna do what I say. And makes him an offer he can't refuse basically by the end. Savon, what does Thrag basically say here to Mark? And, what is Mark response to that?
I mean, it's a really crazy situation where the Viltrumites on Earth. There's two, and
they got there. They got there early.
There's here, and it's like keep in mind, nobody knew where they were at first, and they was recovering. And it was a shit show, and plus they had to heal, and Oliver. So much happened. Anyways, Thrag says, "Hey, we're here. We're on Earth. My folks are already here. And we are already embedded in your society. You can't do nothing about it.
Undercover. They're just undercover.
We're all up in Tinder.
Yep, we all up in this thing. And he pretty much tells Mark, hey, man, look, the deal is that you blew up our planet. We could kill you if we wanted to, but we're not, even though we'll be well within our rights and you couldn't stop us. But we want to rebuild our people. So we're going to do the long game of like, we'll leave y'all planet alone. We'll call a truce. We're going to silently rebuild our ranks amongst Earth's population. We won't bother y'all if you don't bother us. If you do bother us, we will absolutely
Does he say
wreck
like
this planet.
look at you? Does he say like look at you? Like I saw you and I realized that like you're so Viltrumite that like this is gonna work.
Yeah,
Does
he basically
said
that like they need viable hybrids, and his existence proves that like basically because remember the whole plan was that Nolan was supposed to go to Earth, see if you could make viable Viltrumite hybrids. If so, take over the planet, report back. They go back to the planet, but obviously Nolan broke bad, and that never happened. But as soon as Thrag learned that, he made it clear to Mark, hey man, look, you're a viable hybrid. So we're going to play the long game on your planet, rebuild our ranks here. We'll leave you all alone. Try to stop us. We will destroy the planet, and we'll still go through our plans, but in like a much worse way for, I think, everybody involved. Because even the Viltrumites, they clearly want to play the quiet, slow game. That's in their interest too. And so he kind of just has Mark in like a, we're both in check. It's like a dual checkmate situation because Thrag has limited options too because he knows, hey man, like he even says, hey, if you reject my offer, then we both lose. Because then
I don't know if that's true.
I mean, look, Thrag established
I guess he can't rebuild the Viltrum Empire or whatever population, but
Thrag has established that, hey man, like even as strong as Thrag is, they've established that Thrag can't just go and just beat a whole planet single-handedly. He still needs his army. So if they're just outgunned by the coalition, it's just not in his interest to fight. That's why the whole plan is to rebuild our numbers so then we can fight and go, get back to business. So like it's really good writing because it really puts you in this really crazy dual checkmate where Mark doesn't really have an option to say no, but also Thrag doesn't really have a good option besides Mark saying yes too. Like anything that's besides a yes is in both of their worst interests, and they don't like each other. It's just such a crazy conundrum situation to be in. That's like you're sitting there conflicted, and I think most viewers, when you sit and think it through, you're frustrated, and then you kind of go through the same process of Mark. It's like, F no, you out your damn mind? And then you let the gears turn, and you're like, And then I think Thrag said it himself, you have no choice, yet you must make one. I think that really summarizes that entire interaction, and Mark has to ultimately agree to his terms because he realizes that they stand no chance. And it's being driven home by the PTSD flashbacks he's had all episode, realizing, oh man, I'll lose everybody I love if I don't, if I say no. And so we've been building up all these years to stop the Viltrumite occupation of Earth. And ultimately it ends with Mark saying, y'all can stay on Earth. Very crazy roundabout way to go. And then we see the Viltrumites, integrating. We see Lucan with his business suit. We see Anissa walking through the park getting hit on by dudes. We see Craig who got straight. Yeah, we see Craig who got straight to work. My son was on Earth barely there. That boy discovered cigarettes. Did he
have an eye patch?
Yeah, he had an eye patch, because he got the fake eye. But, my boy discovered cigarettes, motorcycles, and baddies. He said, oh yeah, I like this shit. This shit hard right here. But yeah, it was a great ending because you're frustrated as a viewer and you're conflicted because we've been building up to avoid this all these years. And I think the viewers too will sit there and be like, I don't know what other. It's just one of those shitty situations where you don't have a choice, and it's just really good writing of how they just brought us all to this point of like we're at a stalemate, and it's a very convincing one too.
All right, I got some ideas. I bounced these off Savon, and he didn't think they were very likely, but I got some ideas about how Mark could have, or what Cecil and Mark could have done maybe to maybe try and stave off the Viltrumites, even if it wasn't going to be successful ultimately in the end. Because I was actually surprised. I thought, well, two things. The first surprise was I thought there was going to be another battle. And there really wasn't. I mean, Mark tried to like punch him, but Thrag just did his like Neo thing and he just like dodged, like Muhammad Ali just,
He was eating him and dodging him. A couple of punches, he just ate him like
he took him in the head and was like, all right, yeah, that's cool. Like, whatever, baby bro.
Are you done? You got that out your system
exactly.
yet?
Like, that was basically what it was,
let's
right?
Talk.
Like, so I don't know. I was like, okay, one of the things I thought of was like, you sort of just have to go down swinging because we know that if the Viltrumites repopulate and they're still under Thrag's control, even if they agree that they're going to let Earth alone, leave Earth alone, they're still going to go out and like attack other planets and subjugate other planets and other peoples and stuff like that. And I don't think that Debbie would approve of that. She would be like, no, like it's not okay to like save ourselves, but like basically unleash the Viltrumites on the wider, galaxy or whatever. I don't think she would approve of that, and I don't think Mark's sensibilities, to this point at least, would have allowed that. And so I was surprised actually that Mark agreed to this, even if it was the quote unquote like smart move, or the sort. It felt like the only option. To me, it was like you could have chosen mutual destruction and like done that, and like it felt like a very Mark thing to do, to be like, no, I'm going to stand on my principles and not just roll over right in the face of something that's difficult or something that seems untenable. I don't know. That was my first thought and my first reaction to it. Brian, did you sort of go along with the idea that, like, yeah, I don't know, how did you feel about the choice that Mark had to make?
Well, I think in regards to Mark's principles, and this is, credit to the show, is that throughout this season they've been changing. The line that he's willing to cross changes, right?
Yeah.
It's getting pushed back further. And what's important to him is also changing, and maybe a little less explicitly this season, but yeah, I would say in like previous seasons, yeah, he cares about everybody. He wants to do the right thing, do what's best for everybody, and be morally good. But I think slowly throughout this season, he cares more and more about his nuclear family, right? He cares about Debbie, cares about Eve, he cares about Oliver. And I think that's kind of it, honestly. But we also, and I think that's very much evidenced by what happens in this specific episode, right? He is hallucinating about his loved ones getting murdered by Thrag. And I think that is the biggest pain point for him. And then we also saw in the previous episode when him and Daddy just decided to destroy a planet, that he may or may not have gone along with that plan had he known in advance that that's what they were going to do. He seemed a little skeptical about it, and so I think I think this proposition, or this proposal from Thrag, is actually one that Mark embraces, right? Like I don't think that he's just so willing to like go mutual destruction, right? Like he obviously does not want Earth to get destroyed, and moreover, or more importantly, like he does not want to endanger his loved ones, his immediate loved ones, at all. He's just been through a fight with Thrag before. He knows he's not going to be able to kill him, and so I think like all those things taken together means that he's got to accept this compromise. And I, one important thing to add to this mix, one little wrinkle, is also knowing that how Mark is the example that Thrag needs to see that, okay, human beings on Earth can procreate with Viltrumites. The other aspect that Thrag is maybe neglecting, and that perhaps Mark and Cecil should recognize, and perhaps use to their advantage, is the fact that Nolan is an example of where Earth also changes Viltrumites, and that relationships with human beings, human being exceptionalism coming into play, has an impact on people, has an impact on Viltrumites, and that over the course of lifetimes in which they're trying to grow their population, things could change, right? And so it's not like an immediate.
What do you mean?
It's not in an immediate death that they're just, or rather, it's not that
buying time
their
gives you
assured
options.
Death is being prolonged, right? It's also that there are other things at play that could happen, and then of course, I guess Mark doesn't know this, but we know this as an audience, that there is a kill switch out there that Alan is holding on to, that changes the equation entirely from that standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
I guess that's true, right? Like maybe I mean, he doesn't know, but does Mark know about the virus? He doesn't. Only Omni-Man knows about the virus.
He knows that the Scourge virus killed like the Viltrumites, I think, at most that maybe, but he doesn't know about only people who
that
like
we have an actual like.
Alan said specifically
virus, right?
that the only person who knows about it is
Is Omni-Man, right?
Yeah, it's Omni-Man. That's it. No one else knows about the improved Scourge virus.
He doesn't go by Omni-Man anymore. He goes by
Nolan.
It's
Whatever.
identity.
Point is, no one else knows about the
okay,
about the thing. But
yeah,
Brian's
so that
point,
he couldn't take that into account. He doesn't know that there's like this virus that could be their savior at some point. I would say that like there is a possibility that like the virus or the whatever poison that Tech Jacket had. No, the purple one that Tech Jacket had in that one battle. I was thinking like, well, maybe if you do get into a fight with the Viltrumites, maybe you can, try and synthesize that. Cecil's got all of the science, community at his fingertips. Maybe he can recreate it, even though they don't have. Maybe like they can synthesize it, even though they don't have access to the beetles or whatever they had to use. That was a weird setup for that one, but maybe that could be a possibility. We had seen earlier in the season the Flaxens come back. They're the time dilation folks that like when they get to Earth they get messed up and they turn old. And and that's where Monster Girl and Rudy end up, or Robot end up. But I was like, oh, what if you could do the same in reverse, right? You could somehow get, especially Thrag, but if you could get the Viltrumites to end up getting teleported to a different dimension, but in the other way, that the new dimension that they're going
trap them in another dimension is what you're saying.
Yeah, that maybe that dimension has super speeded up time.
Fantastic Four tried to do.
And then they'll oh really? so I want them to go,
remember?
But they couldn't send them to the Flaxen dimension, because if they did that, the Viltrumites would literally live just like forever, basically, like infinite time. They'd have to send them to another dimension where time moves faster.
Yeah, but if they're in a different dimension, maybe they just can't come back. Like maybe just say, hey, we're just gonna lock you in here true. And throw away the key. Nolan went. Keep in mind, Nolan went there.
If they have unlimited time, I feel like they would find a way.
Maybe,
which is basically what they would have, because they're already pretty immortal. You send them to a place where time moves even slower for them. They're going to be they're basically just going to live forever.
But are they scientific geniuses?
No, not necessarily, but give them enough time.
Well, we saw in Nolan. We do know what happened. Nolan got trapped there. Are we forgetting that happened in season 1? Nolan was trapped in the Flaxen dimension for like
I don't remember. How did he get out?
He went there, destroyed their whole civilization.
He used their technology.
No, he basically had like a meteor and basically under duress made them build a device to go home. And then he comes back like the next day and he has like a beard to show that time had passed. But like he actually just whooped their ass and then had them build an exit from, all right, cool, I whooped y'all ass.
Yeah, so we can't send them to Flax. That won't work. Maybe. That's not a good prison. We got to send them to some other dimension where time moves faster.
Anyway, so I have to say,
it's definitely opening up other dimensions.
Yeah,
right?
Which, not to say that there aren't solutions, but I think the main thing, Wes, is that like if he fights back, they definitely die. If he doesn't, they at least have, like Cecil said in the first beginning of the show, right? Like I think in the beginning of the show, you said, all right, I know Nolan, we can't stop him, but can I buy us some time so we can figure this shit out? So maybe this is just us in the buying time phase of like, hey, if we fight, we lose for certain. But if we at least hold on to this, like most like in real war, a lot of times when there's a truce or a stalemate, both sides is like, okay, we're not going to fight, but we're still going to bide our time to wait to the time when we can fight, which is what the Viltrumites are literally doing, right? Like they're literally, their plan is we just going to wait until the time is right and hold this planet like mutually hostile.
Yeah, like that sucks though, because like tactically it's like they are never going to be weaker than they are right now. So even like it's stupid, because it's like, well, we can't beat them now, so we're going to fight them later. But it's like later they're going to be stronger. They're going to have more Viltrumites to fight against, and then they're just going to go
holding you hostage right now. So
But the point is that like it's better at this point.
I was like, I was like, you need. Yeah, I mean, I
get
what
why Thaddeus wants to do.
What's up?
Or we know what like Thaddeus wants to do. He does want the nuclear option.
And the coalition. The coalition wants it too.
Kill the kidnappee. Yeah.
Coalition said, hey, just wipe the coalition is very much wipe
Mark
the planet
doesn't know
dry.
that exists right now, right? So he doesn't even have that as an option for him to do. We've established. So anyways,
he would not do that option. Clearly.
You don't think he would?
You think Mark would destroy the Earth?
You think Mike would? Yeah.
I don't think Mark would be a big fan of that plan, right? Because it's the same problem. It's
obviously
like a genocide problem.
Yeah, I'm confused. Like I'm confused. What's the conversation here? Like the Scourge virus kills the Viltrumites, and they say it's so powerful that it could easily kill humans too.
Oh, okay.
They said like it's so potent. Remember, it's not just another Scourge. It's a perfected, more potent version of the virus. So it's not just it'll be Scourge virus again. It'll be Scourge virus, and because humans and Viltrumites are so genetically similar, there's a non-zero chance that it could just wipe out the planet. Like, to be,
gotcha,
this isn't just like, oh, we killed the Viltrumites. Okay, maybe Mark is in danger. This is like, hey, if we do this, if they pull this card, the whole Earth could theoretically die. But like, I think the big takeaway, Wes, is that like, yes, maybe there's moments where you could try to fight back in the moment, but if you fight in the moment, you will lose. If you bide your time, you can at least explore your options.
Maybe you could, get Thrag to go to the sun and just get baked in the sun or something like that. I don't know.
Come back with a tan.
No, he had to. He'd get killed by the sun. I don't know. There's
but
a lot
all I
of
have to say, point is, all I have to say, they did a good job of giving us this stalemate, and 100%. It's not like a stalemate that has a bunch of holes in it to say, oh, why this stalemate doesn't make any logical sense. Like, the writing is pretty. The writing, considering the moving parts, the writing is relatively airtight in terms of like, there's not really like, this makes sense for all the characters and their motivations, and again, between like, we just have this really dope dynamic now of Thrag on Earth, the Viltrumites and humans who aren't allies, but still a coalition with a kill switch for the planet that is gonna be on the table. It's a MacGuffin. So like, when that does come to a head, like, it's just one of those fun, like, hey, how are people's allegiances gonna shift and change with all this shit happening? Because now we're firmly in a spot to have Alan against our friends who we've been with, his friends we've been with the whole time. Like, we don't know how it's gonna happen, but clearly there's gonna be a lot of like friction. So I'm just very happy with how they stuck the landing season.
I don't know. Alan does not seem like he's fully on board with this plan at the very end when we see him.
Which is the dope part, right? Because he's clearly not on board. But if everybody in the coalition is on your ass about it, and he has still firsthand seen, like, yo, man, unchecked Viltrumites literally wiped out your people and did all this other shit. Like,
right.
What should
is that the trade-off, right? Are we going to trade Earth for?
But that's some of the fun Alan character development of like, we know Alan has a very strong moral compass, but what happens when you're put in a position of leadership and you have to make really nasty, tough calls, and you're like, oh, Thetis was maybe a little callous, but it's like, is it because he was callous as a person, or is it because of the demands of the job? But like, again, back to what we talk about, this is all fun shit about the show, where even characters like Alan the alien is gonna have really cool moral quandaries coming up. That's like, shit, I don't know what the right option is, because
Ooh, all right.
Good stuff.
Let's wrap up there. This was a nice long one. That finale though was like, it messed with my head a lot. So I'm sure if you're listening to this far, you've seen it. I hope you guys enjoyed it too. Let us know what you thought. Did it surprise you that Mark agreed to the kind of ceasefire? Did it not? Were you like, yeah, that's totally on board. I get why he did it, and I would have made the same exact decision.
Well, Wes wanted the show to end here, last season. No, I'm not gonna do that. Okay, boom, the end.
Everyone dies.
The end.
I mean,
credits roll.
They could end the show right there. That would actually be a really good ending for the show in general. I mean, I know there's more stories they could tell. That's a great ending.
Oh, so you're just saying shit now?
What? That would be an awesome.
You think this would be a good
finale.
ending to the series?
Yes, I think that would be an awesome series.
Anyways, moving on.
You don't think so?
I'm not even entertaining this. Moving on.
Wow. All right. I think that's great. It's like you reach the end of the fight, you reach the thing, and then
how you
there's
doing,
kind
Brian?
of an uneasy
How'd you
truce.
feel about this season as a whole? How would you rate it? Okay, I'm not even entertaining this. How would you rate this season, Brian?
Yeah, that's crazy that you don't think they could have ended it right there and just been like, we're done.
I felt like it was basically like two different seasons that happened. It felt like you get like the whole intergalactic battle with the Viltrumites in the second half, and the first half of the season was like mopey Mark and do I kill people or do I not kill people? And they kind of feel like very different. Of course, I think like the latter half of the season is where all the goods were at, and was really great and fun. And I mean, they just adapted the comics so well and added to it. It was a nice reminder of like, oh yeah, this is why I watch Invincible, because we rise to these heights during this show. I just kind of miss the Guardians of the Galaxy, or the Guardians of the Globe, a little bit. And I'm, obviously they're going to come back in future seasons, but I would love to see more of them.
Same. The downside to such a dope, rich world is that like everyone's just going to have their favorite portions that they prefer a little bit more, and there's never going to be a true balance, because some people are like, yo, I don't care about this Earth shit. I want to see what's going on with the Viltrumite War. Other folks say I want more slice of life. But I think they're striking a solid balance. I'm with you, Brian. Season definitely felt like two halves, but to me in a very good way. Like, I appreciated the letting things breathe from the madness of the last season and all of that, and a little bit of character mark development, people stuff going on. Like, we talked about that dinner scene where they all ate before Mark and them left, which I thought was a really just wholesome scene. Like, I did like the first half in terms of the first half, in hindsight, did a good job of giving us some time to just enjoy the world a little bit before shit just gets wild. And there was just, like I said, there was barely even any humor in this back part because it was just so serious. So I hope that the next season, not hope, I'm pretty sure the next season will definitely get more Earth-based conflict and more of the side stories again that I like. But I was happy with the split of regular, more Earth-based stuff, then going full send on the Viltrumite War, and I felt like they've been building up to this for years, and I'm very satisfied with the payoff. Also, Wilder, we went this whole pile without talking about Battle Beast and how he was also just an absolute treat. His just whole, more enemies, I want to fight, I want to die. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know. I was very, this season epitomized why I think a lot of people, you know what, Brian, I won't speak for you, but for me, when I read this arc in the comic, that's when Invincible really was like, oh, this shit is different. This ain't just some regular comic series I'm reading. And the show is just like, this is peak Invincible. Like, this is what you want. Yeah. This is all the shit that makes the show good and delicious.
I'm going 5 out of 5 on this season. I really enjoyed it. I don't think I would have changed anything. And yeah, it was good. Really great. Good job, Invincible crew. You did it.
Yeah, that's why he wants it to end right there.
Yeah, he said,
don't spoil it after.
Right. But yeah, I'm with you.
Don't lose 2 straight games after being up 3-0.
Right? Just stop.
That's what Wes is worried about.
Right? Stop the count. Stop the count.
Actually, yeah, boys, Wes said we up at halftime. Actually, we could just end the game right here. So just go home. Go home, get some burritos, call it early.
Call it a day.
No, they just need to stop doing these 8 episodes. They need to stop doing this 8 episode season shit, bro. Like, Invincible is a way too dense and rich of a show that benefits from slice of life episodes and side stories to be confined to like an 8 episode season. And I just don't think it makes any sense. Stop doing animated shows like Prestige TV. The production just is not the same. You don't have to worry about the actors and all the sets, all that in-person stuff. And like, I'm sorry.
All that in-person stuff.
I'm sorry. I just don't get why we can't have 10, 11 episodes. That way we can have a little bit more space to do a little bit of what's happening on Earth, the Guardians. Or instead of all the stuff on Earth that happened off screen, which it happened off screen in the comics too. But like, hey man, wouldn't it be dope to have an episode of just what the hell is happening on Earth while Mark and them out here getting disemboweled, blowing up planets? What is happening? Do we get a Guardian side story? Do we maybe get to see a non-action episode of Eve's loneliness and what it actually looked like, and what happens with Debbie and Eve when the boys aren't around? Like, all of those are dope moments, and the show is shown it can handle those types of little side stories. But this 8 episode crap doesn't let you do that, and it's just such a missed opportunity. It's just such a missed opportunity, and I don't know if it's because they're spending all the money on just like Bruce Campbell, or I don't know, but like, yo, man, you've got to get a shift of your priorities, especially because all these big popular actors, half of them can't even reprise the roles in later seasons. So like, why are we even doing this? Like, they had to recast William, they had to recast Titan with Mahershala Ali, and it's like, I don't have a problem with the voice actors themselves, but like, I don't need every big ticket name to be in this show, especially if it's 8 episodes. Get rid of the mini celebrity cameos, give us 2-3 more episodes, and continue to build on what makes the show so damn good.
Give us 12 to 15.
I'll take that. Point is, Brian, the comics are so long, much shit.
That's the issue. What they're trying to adapt is written for the comic book medium, which is sprawling, right? Like, and that's the way a lot of superhero comics are. There are multiple plot lines going off at the same time, and each one kind of builds and climaxes at a different moment, and they're all sort of interwoven together. And that is very much true in Invincible. And it's a better comic for it, right? Because the world is so rich and well thought out, with crazy creative ideas hiding underneath every rock of the world. And that's hard to do in television, which is a very different format that's not quite made to do the same thing, unless you give it the extra episodes, right? Unless you give it like the 20 episode run, like the original Avatar series had.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that is right. Like, you can do that in television if you're willing to put on more episodes. It would just be the budget per episode would have to be much smaller, probably, for the economics to work.
And I'm just not buying it for an animated series. That's where I kind of draw the line. It's different if it was a bunch of, if it's Game of Thrones or some shit like that. I'm like, all right, I get the logistics behind just the filming schedule, weather, all that. But like, I'm sorry, for animation, I'm just giving them I'm cutting them a little bit less slack. Yeah. And it's Amazon. They got money. It's just a matter of like, but it's clearly scheduling and the timing they want to get the stuff pushed out seems to be more important with the production schedule. And I'm like, okay, cool. Give me 2-3 more episodes. I'm not even complaining about the animation stuff. I'm not even going to be one of those folks because it could, it counts when I need it to count.
It's rough. Yeah. It's still rough.
It is. But like, but for me, again,
that's kind of their style now.
Yeah. And plus, for me, the action's good when it needs to be and the dialogue is good when it needs to be. And so for me, it's like, yes, Brian, it can be rough, but that's not a deal breaker for me. Like, it's just a whatever. But I don't know, man. It just feels like such a easy thing to rectify that it's frustrating that they're really sticking the course. Yes.
That's your famous line.
Money. Yeah, money.
All right, that'll wrap us up. If you haven't seen Invincible, I don't know, I'd 100% go see it. It was great. Or go watch it. We're out of here. Have fun. Good luck to your Pistons. Bye.
Boo Pistons.
What we did to you?